So, as part of that, uh, okay, shall I start? So, we all know that Amazon is the biggest cloud service provider in the world. So, Amazon and Windows, Microsoft Azure, they are the very big players in cloud domain. And we know that Amazon is known for providing infrastructure as a service, and Microsoft Azure is very well known for providing platform as a service. 1 minute, 1 minute. Sir, class ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. Sudarshanam sir. Okay. So we know that Microsoft is known for providing platform as a service, and Amazon provides infrastructure as a service. But not only the infrastructures, even it provides other services also. But the main intent of AWS is it is they are intended at providing infrastructure as a service, and we can access AWS or Microsoft Cloud using internet. As we know that the cloud platform is built upon the existing internet network. So therefore, internet is an overlay network upon which the cloud is built. Okay, that's one thing. So therefore, internet is a overlay network. So the meaning of overlay network is that overlay network is something which is existing. Upon that, there is a scope using some of the protocols like SOAP and uh, REST protocols. You can build some other networks. So that means now to access Amazon, AWS, or Windows Azure, we can use SOAP protocol or REST-based web services, because at the end whatever the services that they are providing using cloud, they are nothing but the web services. So therefore we can access those web services by using SOAP and REST based web services. So now today, to explain this Amazon web services, I'll go with the material which is officially prepared by Amazon. So now this is a PPT which is published in SlideShare. So this is official PPT about Amazon web services prepared by Amazon. Okay, therefore, so in the beginning of 6 7 slides, it is about the basic definitions of cloud computing. We'll skip that. So we'll go with. So we'll start with, okay, what are the attributes of cloud computing? Then we'll step into AWS. So attributes are nothing but the characteristics. Okay, so we'll see what are the attributes or the characteristics of cloud computing. So no capital expenditure. So the capital expenditure, the capital means the amount that you invest to build the permanent infrastructure. That is called capital. If you are building permanent infrastructure, you have to invest. That is called capital amount. So in case of cloud, no capital expenditure, because everything will be hiring from the cloud. Just you need to have the computer and the internet with you, and pay as you go and pay only for what you use. That's the model. Okay, that's the catch line. Pay as you go. That means you don't know how much you may be consuming, so pay as you go and pay for only what you use. So if you are consuming some n number of resources, you pay for it. Okay, only that means you will be paying exactly for only what you are using. And true elastic capacity, that means just just if you tell your company says, they will allocate, okay, they can configure the resources so that so you can have seamless access of resources, cloud resources. So let it be processor, let it be storage, or any computing service, anything. So it is elastic and scalable, and you can scale it up and scale you can scale it down. That means you can shrink and you can increase the capacity when you consume the resources on demand. And it improves time to market. So improves time to market means you can bring your product very fastly to the market. So that is the meaning of improves time to market. Why? Because you need not worry about how to set up the framework, how to assemble the resources, how to build the infrastructure. So you don't have any such headaches. Everything will be taken care by cloud. Just you can start using it. So in that sense, it improves the time to market of your product, and you get to focus your engineering resources on what differentiates you versus managing the undifferentiated infrastructure resources. Say, for example, if you go with the earlier traditional model, where each company used to maintain their own data centers, they used to have their own setup. So that means they have to take care of so many other things, not only about the ongoing projects. Okay, to extend if they want to extend support for their ongoing projects, so they have to take care of their data centers. Okay, that was a very big headache. Now that can be outsourced. Okay, these are the some of the characteristics of cloud. Okay, now we'll see elastic and pay-per-use infrastructure. You can see here the dotted lines represents predicted demand. That means this is a demand what a company is predicting. Okay, that is a, you can see that line, dotted line, that is a predicted demand. And blue line indicates the traditional hardware setup. Okay, traditional hardware setup. That means how the companies used to maintain their own infrastructure. That is the traditional hardware setup, and the actual demand. So the red line which indicates the actual demand. Okay, so you can see there is a lot of deviation between the predicted demand and the actual demand. Sometimes it is less and sometimes it is more than expected. So therefore, always you cannot predict what could be the demand. See, the best example for that is, I think from 2 3 days, I think you are hearing. So, government of India has allowed trains to specific cities. So and there is only one window using which you can book the tickets. That is by using IRCTC. No one predicted that it will become that much slow. The site will become that much slow. So why? Because it's almost 54,000 seats are available and only one window, that is IRCTC. Only using that IRCTC everyone has to book, and that is based upon first come first served basis. So that means that it was an unexpected demand. So in that sense, always you cannot predict. So because of the events that will happen around us, okay, we cannot predict exactly what could be the exact demand. And automated virtualization, you can see here. So automated, 1 minute. Yes, automated virtualization. That is a yellow curve that you can see. So that represents automated virtualization. See, in the y-axis we have the infrastructure cost, and in the x-axis we have a time. So therefore, x-axis indicating how the cost is increasing over time. See, as the time increases in the x-axis, in the y-axis, the infrastructure cost is also increasing. But you look at this automated virtualization, even that cost has also increased. Automated virtualization. Next slide, on demand. Okay. So now this is the concept of Amazon. Amazon. So they have taken the example of an Amazon EC2. Amazon EC2 stands for Amazon Compute Cloud. So C2 means it is Compute Cloud. Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. In the y-axis, we have a number of EC2 instances, which is nothing but number of virtual machines are the instances, and in the x-axis, we have the duration, time duration. So we have Wednesday, Thursday, like that. We have the time duration in the x-axis, and in the y-axis we have number of EC2 instances. You can see the demand. So Wall Street, see this is an application, Wall Street application. So that's a trading application which is hosted on Amazon platform. So look at the demand. See, during Wednesday, Thursday, the demand will go up to 3,000. That means they need up to 2,800 or 3,000 CPUs every day. So the requirement may go up to 3,000 CPUs during Wednesday, Thursday, okay, and Friday. See, after Friday we have Saturday and Sunday. During weekends it will come down. So why? Because during weekends there will be no trading. So it's a trading holiday. Even in India, it's a trading holiday on Saturday and Sunday. So therefore, number of CPUs required for that Wall Street app is very much less. Why? Because people just they want to check the what is the price of the shares, and they want to see their profile details. So that means they will not be doing much transactions. So hence, This Wall Street app requires very less virtual machines during weekends, that is Saturday and Sunday, that is approximately 300 CPUs or 300 instances. And during other days, the demand may go up to 3000 CPUs. And here the point is that to provide that service, Amazon is providing Elastic Compute Cloud service. So Elastic Compute Cloud service is one service using which you can hire the virtual machines on demand from Amazon portal, and you can pay for it. So while hiring the virtual machine, you can decide how many CPUs you want and how much storage you want, how many CPUs you want. Everything it will come as a package. So together we call it as a container or an instance. So each instance of Amazon EC2 is associated with RAM capacity, storage capacity, and the type of guest operating system that you are going to install on that instance. Okay, basically it's a container. There you are supposed to select one a guest operating system as well, along with the CPU, storage, and other things. Okay, we'll see how it is scalable. So in the y-axis, it shows number of EC2 instances, and in the x-axis, as I told, it shows the time duration. If you look at this graph, this shows that for a period of time, the number of instances required are increasing. Okay, that means there is a variation. Okay, there is a variation. That means so your EC2 should be flexible so that you are able to scale it down and also you are able to scale it up. So hence we call it as elastic. So elastic means it is flexible enough to scale down or to scale up. So that's the point here. So even Facebook uses Amazon services. So launch of Facebook modification. You can see here when you launch Facebook modification, so you see how the curve varies. So before launching it was here, so after launching, so it is consuming more instances. So scale to peak of 5000 instances in 3. So say for example today you are launching one modification, so after 3 days look at the consumption, so it is gradually increased. So that means you need to have an cloud platform which is scalable and which supports for your application like Facebook, Gmail, and so on. So therefore, Google Gmail is hosted on Google Cloud and Facebook is hosted on Amazon Cloud. And look at this diagram. So this diagram represents on-premise infrastructure. The meaning of on-premise infrastructure is that so the company which is following traditional approach where they want to maintain all the resources in their own premises. If that is the case, so they will be concentrating on so they will be putting 30% of the efforts to concentrate on business. So what project to do, how to implement, and so on, and remaining 70% of the efforts they will be wasting on maintaining the data center infrastructure, all such things. So to overcome this, we have a cloud platform. Okay, you can see the difference here. If you go with on-premise infrastructure, so you have only 30% of the time to concentrate on the business. Whereas if you opt for the cloud, AWS cloud or any other cloud, say for that matter, you have 70% of the time or efforts to concentrate on the business rather than maintaining or configuring other things. See here, if you go for AWS, you have 70% time to concentrate on the business and 30% to customize your cloud assets and other things. And business agility. See, business agility means, say for example, today, see every business will start as a startup. So initially they may need very few resources and applications are not robust. Okay, as a business increases, so their application will become very complex. They'll keep adding too many services, too many modules, and even they may change the tools and technologies. So to support all these things, we have so many cloud providers like AWS and Azure. So it can cope up with all those changes. So that is called business agility. So over a period of time, the business will keep changing, and you should have a cloud platform that supports for that agility. The cloud scales. See, every day we add enough capacity to power Amazon.com. So this is a statement given by Amazon. Every day we add enough capacity to power Amazon.com. When it was in its fifth year of operation as a 2.76 billion company. So during fifth year, that means during 2010, it was no, during 2006, it was a 2.76 billion dollar company. So that's what they are telling. And every day they keep adding the resources so that they can continue their business and they can give seamless services to their clients. So in terms of size and in terms of number of services provided, AWS is very much bigger than any other cloud. You take Oracle Cloud, you take Google, you take Microsoft. So, in terms of number of services, Amazon is the biggest player. And when it comes to revenue, Microsoft Azure is the biggest player in terms of revenue. Look at this Amazon S3 growth. So Amazon's S3 is simple storage service. Amazon S3 is Amazon simple storage service. Look at its growth. During fourth quarter of 2006, its business was $2.9 billion, and in the fourth quarter of 2007, it is 14 billion, and in 2008, it is 40 billion. Look at the surge in its revenue, and in 2009 102 billion. So within 1 year you can see almost more than 300%, 300% growth. So this graph indicates that, so how companies are adapting to Amazon S3. So through this graph, we will come to know that Amazon Simple Storage Service is most popular storage service, which and it is having. See, look at the request that it is getting. Peak request, 2 lakh plus request per second. Okay, as of 2011, as of 2011 data, so the peak request was more than 2 lakh requests per second. That shows the popularity of Amazon S3, that is simple storage service. And look at this diagram. This diagram tells that they are having customers in more than 190 countries. And look at their customers: Adobe, Nasdaq, NASA, Netflix, ESPN, New York Times, Guardian newspaper, Alexa, WordPress, Synaptics, and so on. Okay, and the list continues. It includes Microsoft, IBM, Citrix, Oracle. So they have partners. See, that means see, you may be thinking Oracle is also a cloud platform. Why they are using AWS? So there are services for which they have the partnership. So similarly, they have partnership with Salesforce. Even that is a cloud platform. Microsoft cloud platform. Okay. So now I'll show you one diagram. See, this is a diagram available in your textbook. See, we have the Amazon AWS platform is divided into four verticals. So that means into four different services. One is computing services, another one is storage services, third one communication services, and additional services. We'll see what are compute services. Compute services are those which provides tools like, say for example, if I consider Amazon Elastic MapReduce, by using Amazon Elastic MapReduce, you can process enterprise level data. Enterprise level data means it's a very huge data. Okay, you cannot use Oracle there. So you need to have a distributed technologies. So MapReduce is a distributed technology. So through Amazon Elastic MapReduce, you can process enterprise data. And to host the applications, you can use AWS Elastic Beanstalk and AWS Cloud Formation. You can develop the applications and you can you can launch the applications. And to auto scaling of the CPU resources, you can use a tool which is called as auto scaling. AWS auto scaling is the tool that you can use to scale up or scale down the compute related resources. And as I told, you have Amazon Simple Storage Services, that is S3. It provides the storage services for the companies. And at the same time, you have Amazon Elastic Block Store, and you have Amazon Simple DB. Just like Oracle, Amazon also provides database services, and we call it as Amazon Simple DB. Okay, and another type of service is Amazon Communication Services. So that is for messaging related services. So we have Amazon Simple Queue Service and Amazon Simple Notification Services. Okay, to send alert messages, and we have Amazon Simple Email Services to deal with. Say, for example, you are opening a company and you want to have your own private email service for your own employees. If that is your requirement, you can go with Amazon Simple Email Service and Amazon Direct Connect. So that provides VPN related services, and Amazon Elastic Load Balancing. Say, for example, you are having a company and already you have built the infrastructure. That means already you have your own data center, and but you want to monitor what is the load of each and every server. For that, you can avail Amazon Elastic Load Balancing software. See, that is a service available. Amazon Elastic Load Balancing. Say that you can use for on-premise server monitoring and also to monitoring your cloud assets. For in both the cases, you can use Amazon Elastic Load Balancing. And additional services, Amazon GOV Cloud, Amazon CloudWatch. So Amazon CloudWatch is pretty popular. See, actually, it's a logging mechanism. Amazon CloudWatch, it is all about logging mechanism. What are all the resources that you are? What are the Amazon resources that you are using? For that, it will maintain a log. So that means it's a dump. So based upon that, it will prepare the statistics, and the Amazon CloudWatch actually provides a dashboard. Using that dashboard, you can view all the statistics about the resource consumption, its utilization, and the billing policies, and so on. And you have one popular application, Alexa. So I think you have seen Alexa on all the Amazon devices, and that is Alexa Web Information Service, and also Alexa Top Sites. So where it can search information in the top websites. See, for you people from examination perspective, this diagram is very important. And here, just under each service, you need to remember you need two services. Say, for example, under cloud compute services, you may talk about Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, which provides on-demand instances of the virtual machines, and AWS Elastic Beanstalk, which is used to host the applications or launch your applications. If you have developed any application using that Elastic Beanstalk, you can launch your application on the cloud. And under storage services, so you can highlight Amazon S3 and Amazon Simple DB. That is a database service. And under communication services, you can highlight Amazon Virtual Private Cloud. So that is one service. So for example, for any given company, say nowadays people are working from home. So without virtual private networks, they cannot work from home. So to provide that virtual private network facility, okay, they can hire the service, and that service name of the service is Amazon Virtual Private. Okay, then another one is Amazon Simple Email Service. Okay, so if you want to have your own separate email service that you can, which is private for your own employees, then you can avail Amazon Simple Email Service. And under additional services, you have Alexa and you have Amazon Flexible Payment Service. So Amazon Flexible Payment Service is one, actually it's a dashboard kind of thing where you can explore various payment options available, okay, various pricing models available, and accordingly you can hire the resources. Okay, now look at the existence of this Amazon AWS. So AWS regions: United States East, United States West, Europe, Asia Pacific, and Asia Pacific. So in Asia Pacific, they are having the two major centers, one at Singapore and another one at Tokyo. And we come under Asia Pacific. Okay, and look at the AWS CloudFront locations. So, so these are the locations where they have installed their data centers. So that means you can see at Dallas they have data center, at Los Angeles they have data center, at Miami they have data center. So this indicates where they have built their data centers to cater the needs of their clients. So what are the building blocks of AWS? So the major building block of the AWS is Amazon EC2, and you can see and Amazon global physical infrastructure. So that's a distributed infrastructure which is scattered across different regions just now you saw. So that is actually one of the building block. Then another thing is Amazon EC2. So these two things, that is a physical infrastructure and Amazon EC2, these two things forms the core of the or building blocks of the Amazon AWS. If anybody asks you what are the building blocks of Amazon AWS, one is the physical infrastructure that is which is distributed across the globe, and another one is very importantly Amazon EC2. Because if you want to host the applications, you need to have a virtual machine, that is the instance or a container. So hence we consider that as a building block. And when I say physical infrastructure, it includes storage related services, network related services, and so on. So now let us see what is Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. So that is nothing but a virtual machine, and it provides on-demand compute power. Say for example, now you have hired two instances, and now you feel like you want three more instances. Yes, on demand you can hire three more Amazon EC2 resources, and you can allocate how much of storage you want on demand, and you can pay for it. And key features: Amazon support for Windows platform, Linux platform, FreeBSD, and Open Solaris, and it supports all major web and application platforms. You say any major web and application platforms it supports, and you can deploy across all the availability zones for reliability. So just now in one of the slide you saw the AWS availability across different regions like Asia Pacific, Amazon, US West, East, and so on. So there you can deploy your applications, and you can monitor, and it monitors status and usage. The key feature of Amazon is always it will monitor once it starts providing the services, it will monitor the status and the usage related statistics, and that will be made available for you through dashboard. So evolution of cloud computing. So first they have the physical infrastructure, then so they added Amazon EC2, later they added Amazon S3 and Amazon Elastic Block Storage. So Elastic Block Storage, you can use Amazon EBS as you would use a hard drive on a physical server. So that means instead of storing something on a physical server, if you want to store something remotely, so at that time you can use EBS. See, actually EBS provides you authentication. so that your data is safe and secure, and you'll be having the feeling as if you are saving something in your own hard disk. Okay, like that, just like how you access your hard disk, similarly you can access the Amazon EBS, that is Elastic Block Store. Then Amazon Simple Storage Service. In traditional on-premise applications, this type of data would ordinarily be maintained on storage area network or network uh, attached switch. NAS means network attached switch. However, a cloud-based mechanism such as Amazon S3 is far more agile, flexible, and geo-redundant. So, see, remember the term geo-redundant. The meaning of geo-redundant is that, say for example, so Amazon is storing Facebook data. So one data center is in Hyderabad and another one is in Los Angeles. Say for example, some disaster happens in Hyderabad, so its complete data center is vanished. So as a backup, they have that data stored in Los Angeles. That is called as geo redundant. Okay, and if you use Amazon AWS or Windows Azure, actually you can configure how many redundant copies you want and in which exact data centers you want to you want to maintain the redundant copy. So that is possible. That is called geo redundant feature. Amazon S3 is highly scalable, durable. So the meaning of durable is, see, whenever you ask data, they'll provide the data. That is called durability. Okay, you ask after 1 year, they have the data and they'll provide the statistics, data, everything. That is called durable. And available, distributed object store. So that means the data centers are distributed and you can have seamless access from anywhere just by using the internet. So next tool is VPC, that is virtual private cloud. Okay, so the example for virtual private cloud, say for example now BMSIT wants to have their own cloud, but they are not the pioneers in setting up the cloud platform. So if that is the thing, they can talk to Amazon and they can avail the service which is called as Amazon Virtual Private Cloud. They will come and they will do all the necessary setup, and so that all the students and employees of BMSIT can make use of that private cloud. So that is called Amazon Virtual Private Cloud. So this is simple one. This is a slide which shows so how to set up the virtual private cloud. That means everything is graphical user interface. So just by selecting various options, just like how you install a software or how you install an operating system, you can just configure the virtual private cloud. So there will be options. So look at here. There is a VPC with single public subnet. That is single public subnetwork. VPC with public and private subnet, VPC with internet and VPN access, and VPC with VPN only access. That means there are various models available, so we can select the appropriate model. Next is database, Amazon RDS. That is Amazon Relational Database Service. So by using Amazon RDS, you can have an option of selecting either MySQL or Oracle 11g. So and they are managed by Amazon RDS. Okay, say for example, for your company, you want to say you have a medium-sized company, say with 5,000 employees or some 500 employees, then you can go with Microsoft. Sorry, you can go with MySQL or Oracle 11g, and that will be managed by Amazon instead of your administrator. Amazon RDS automates common administrative tasks to reduce the complexity and total cost of ownership. And the very big advantage is it will greatly reduce the total cost of ownership. Most of the times what happens, companies they'll go with yearly subscription, so every year they have to renew, but in this case here only they'll pay for how many, depending upon how many queries they execute and how much data they store, they'll pay only for that. Okay, next is Amazon Beanstalk. Developers can simply deploy or upload their applications and they can launch it. Okay, they can launch it on cloud platform by selecting Amazon Elastic Beanstalk. Elastic Beanstalk handles the rest. That means just you need to upload your file, application file. It will take care of launching it on cloud platform. Okay, this is a example. Okay, someone is having an application by name Attic, and they have hosted on Amazon AWS. Okay, that's it. So NASA is using Amazon for data processing. Okay, these are the applications. So, and common use cases of Amazon is Amazon can be used for hosting the websites and application hosting and software as a service hosting. Say for example, you have developed one web service. Say for example, you have developed something similar to Photoshop. You have developed an editor, something similar to Photoshop, and you want to make it available to everyone in the public domain. So therefore, so the suitable platform is a cloud platform. So you want to host it on cloud, and you want to charge for the customers. That is, so if they use your software, they have to pay. That is software as a service. So if that is the thing, you can host it on cloud. Such services also provided by Amazon. And mobile and social applications, say for example, if you take the example of WhatsApp, that is hosted on cloud, Google Cloud. So similarly, okay, there are applications which are mobile applications which are hosted on AWS, and the social applications like Facebook are hosted on Amazon AWS. And internal IT application hosting, the companies, they can host their applications for internal purpose. Okay, that is also made possible with Amazon AWS, and it is also suited for content delivery and media distribution. So Netflix is the one of the clients for AWS, which is a content delivery company. So that is like YouTube, Netflix kind of things. Such applications can also be hosted on cloud. And high performance computing, that is to run the simulations and to deal with batch data processing and large scale analytics. Then storage, backup, and disaster recovery services are also provided by AWS, and it also provides development and test environments. Okay, these are the some of the applications of Amazon AWS. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you.